Good evening, my name is Tom. I come to you from the Rustic log cabin in northern Maine. I'm getting ready to process the lake trout that I caught this evening. It is a 8-pound, 28-inch lake trout. Oh, see if we get you a better picture. So normally I don't gut animals and all that stuff on my videos. So if you're a little squirmish with this kind of stuff, I figured I got enough daylight left, so I figured I would take and show how I process this for steaks. I will turn this into the last lake trout that I got. I pressure canned him, and he's in canning jars. But this one I'm going to steak up into steaks. So I figured I would process this one for video today. So if you're squirmish about this, this might not be a video that you like, at least for the first couple of minutes. After that, then you could definitely come back. It's just a piece of meat that will be processed into what I call fish steaks for my grill and stuff. What I do with these is I soak them in a salt and water mixture, brine, with brown sugar. Sometimes I let it soak overnight. Sometimes I let it soak for a couple of hours. Depends on what I have time for. And then when I lay it on the grill, I don't touch it. I put it skin down and just leave it there, whether it's on a grill or on a fire pit or wherever I cook him. And then I'll put some brown sugar on top, and then I'll just leave it there until it's completely cooked. And that's how I will eat these steaks off this guy. So now, one of the things that I don't do with the guts is I don't throw them in the woods here at the cabin, because I don't want to draw in bears or anything like that. So what I have is I have a 5-gallon bucket with a lid with a little bit of water in it, and then I will throw the guts and heads in that bucket, and then tomorrow when I'm back out in the boat I will dump them overboards, and that way I don't risk calling in bears and stuff like that to get them feeding here around the cabin. I don't throw anything in the woods here at the cabin, ever. For a lot of reasons. One is the bears, the other is raccoons, everything else that will come to the cabin. People talk about knives. Now there's a knife. I like that Australian show from years ago. I'll show you a knife. The reason I have such a big knife for these is it makes it a lot easier to fillet them out. Now when I put it in the canning jar, I filleted out the entire both sides because it was going in a canning jar. I didn't want the bone in there. But what I do with this now is all I'll do is fillet one side. I'll fillet one side, and the bone will be on the other side because it doesn't matter. Now one of the things I like to do when I get this right here is the bladder. This is why I don't throw fish back when it comes to lake trout that you pull up off the bottom, is when these guys come up off the bottom, this bladder right here fills up with air, and I think that they have trouble getting back down to bottom. So if you like, it takes about 20 minutes to a half hour to land one of these fish. So he's pretty tired by the time he gets to the boat. So I feel that if I throw this fish back, he's going to die anyways. That's why I only fish for one. You're allowed one out here on the lake. I catch one, I keep one. But if I threw him back, see I kept fishing the rest of the day and just kept throwing fish back. Personally, my own personal opinion is that fish will die anyways because he's exhausted. The temperature change from the bottom to the top is huge, and this air bladder is filled with water. But why I'm in here is I want to find the stomach. I want to see what's in the stomach area. If you get in here, got to get that bladder. See that bladder right full of air? It's almost like a balloon. See that? All that is full of air. Poke a hole in it and deflates. That's why I think this fish would die going back down the bottom. But you get in here to the stomach, and here's the stomach, and look at that. bone empty. Sometimes there's a whole fish in there. It's just got some kind of green. Oh, rubber worm. This is why I don't like plastics. Sometimes you catch these fish and their bellies would be right full of rubber worms. If it was my opinion, I mean, if I had any say about it, I would make rubber bait illegal for fishing for bass, because they don't dissolve. And when you catch a big fish like this, sometimes they can have 10 or 15 of these rubber worms in them. So you figure it out. If the belly is full of a rubber worm, how's that fish gonna eat? He's not. So that's it in there. This is getting pretty bloody and messy. So I'm gonna turn you guys off, and I'll come back when he's a little cleaner. Now, if you're gonna be out in the boat for a while, after you catch the fish, you gotta throw them in the cooler. It's a really good idea to get him shortly after catching him, is to get him cleaned out. See, I came right home because I'm only allowed one fish. But I have a 5-gallon bucket if I'm going to be in the boat, and I have a bucket, and I have ice in my cooler. But it's a really good idea to at least, maybe not clean him completely, but at least damage the gills. And you can accomplish that by sticking your finger up in there, or stick a knife up in there, whatever. Don't get hurt. There's big teeth in there, and the gills bleed a lot. So then you can bleed the fish out, and it will make him taste a lot better. With me, I just came home, so now what I'm going to do. Now, for me, they've got a really big backbone. So what I find, it's a lot easier. Take right here, you can feel this gill area. Get that gill area cut. This is no good, that's just a big bone in there. But if you cut right behind that gill area, right up to the back of his, I don't know if you can see, you cut right up to the back of his head right here, and then do the same thing on this side. Same thing down here. Come down here, get that gill cut out of there. Now what you can do is right here, you take this knife and push down there like that. Grab him underneath the chin and just break his neck. And see that? Pops right off. The gill area and all. If you don't think that's a big fish, look at the size of that head. This is a big old fish. Look at him, his jaws all messed up. Just a beautiful guy. And now you see there's a lot of blood right here. You see in there, that's the main part of the blood. What I do is I just take a knife and run down both sides of the backbone. Seems to work better that way. And then you just take your knife and go sideways. The sun's coming out. I hope you can see what I'm doing. Maybe I'll turn the fish around this way. Get a better view. Just hold your knife in there like this sideways, and you can get a lot of that membrane in there to break free. I don't press around too hard in there because I don't want to pull the meat away from the rib bones. Then just take them, stick them in the bucket, rinse them out. Yeah, see, nice and clean in there now. And the other thing, I don't like belly fat off these fish. So now you lay him on his side like this, and you see, it's awful hard to do the angles. See that right there? This is all, this guy doesn't have very much. For 28 inches, I think he should have weighed a little bit more. After seeing that worm in his belly, it kind of makes me wonder. After seeing that, I like to get rid of that little layer of belly fat. It doesn't taste good to me. Yeah. Now, this is where the big knife comes in. I like the big knife because I can get right through the whole fish. Now what I do is I flip him up right here, and his rib cage kind of ends right about in back of this big dorsal fin. So what I do is I you want it right close to the backbone. Watch out your hand on the other side because it's gonna come through. And then you're right on top of the backbone. I actually hit the other side. Okay, now, and you kind of turn the knife down so it stays right against the backbone and cut right up through all the ribs. You see that? It flops right back. Then you flip him around and do the same thing all the way back to the tail. Hold the knife against the backbone. And now look. So you got a great big steak. The rib bones are still in. You could take the time at this point if you wanted to, and you could pull them out. I don't bother with it. They don't bother me. I take them out when I'm actually eating. Then you got to take and get rid of the tail. Don't need that in your packages. Big fish are hard to clean. How's that for a tail? Now at this point, like I said, the reason at this point I'm going to cook it anyway, so there's some meat, just a little bit left here on this side of the backbone. I don't like to waste anything. So by leaving this intact, I can cook it off and pick it off the bones when I eat it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 3 cuts. This is a meal, this is a meal, and that would be a meal. See that? See, now I got a great big steak. Then I'm going to do the same thing on this guy. Where he's already, I'm just going to, same deal. And that's it. There's that rubber worm. Don't I hate to see them in fish? Especially a laker. A laker can live to be years and years and years old. So how many of these do you think that poor laker could pick up in a lifetime? There's quite a few. At the end of this video, I'll put you in some links to more topics about the great state of Maine. There'll be 3 of them. I also have a round circle back there. I'm standing next to a bear. Click that bear if you'd like to subscribe to my channel. Looking forward to meeting you, and come along with me to the state of Maine.